Hi guys, a huge story on Tuesday night. Another disastrous example of privatisation exposed. Thames Water, a private company, has loaded itself up with debt, 14 billion worth, but at the same time it has been paying out massive salaries to its executives and paying dividends to its shareholders. Now, as the company is close to going bust, the government will probably pump in cash to bail out the shareholders, and it will be left to the taxpayer to prop up the failing enterprise. Nationalisation could be a solution, but probably not under the Tories. Have a listen.
Our city editor, Mark Kleiman, has breaking news tonight that the government has begun drawing up contingency plans for the collapse of Thames Water. Right, bring us up to date, Mark.
Important news tonight about the future of Thames Water, Britain's biggest water company, which serves 15 million customers in London and the southeast of England. What I've learned tonight is that the government has begun drawing up contingency plans for Thames Water's collapse amid growing doubts in Whitehall about the company's ability to service its £14 billion debt pile. Now, this would obviously be a very important development, and I should point out that at this stage, these are simply contingency plans being discussed within the government that may ultimately not need to be activated. Ofwat, the water industry regulator, is also involved in these talks. But to be clear, Anna, if Thames Water can secure private funding to reduce its borrowings and put itself on a more sustainable financial footing, any form of public ownership would not then be a necessary step. Now, these talks within Whitehall relate to an insolvency process known as a special administration regime, which was used by the government when the energy supplier Bulb collapsed back in 2021. And the Department of Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Ofwat and Thames Water have all been contacted for comment this evening, and their responses, if and when they come, may give us some additional insight into how likely this insolvency process might ultimately be. Now, Thames Water has faced a growing crisis in recent years over its record on leaks, sewage contamination, and on issues like executive pay. And as you pointed out there from the papers tomorrow, the company announced on Tuesday that Sarah Bentley, its chief executive for nearly 3 years, was leaving with immediate effect and that it had begun the search for her successor. And this all comes amid, Anna, a growing debate about the merits of a privatised water industry in Britain, with critics arguing that some form of mutual or public ownership would deliver more reliable services. Ultimately, this is going to be a big political debating point in the run-up to the next general election.
It should be, because public water should be a resource for the public. It should be a public resource. It's like certain infrastructure. It should be under public ownership. It shouldn't be private companies. And Thames Water has been criticised in the past over leaks, for example, wastage, and of course this cost being passed on to ratepayers or consumers. And what have we heard from the Tories recently? Well, they wanted to pump an extra £1.8 billion into the private water companies to help them upgrade the system. Now, they have been making massive profits over the last number of decades since water was privatised. And instead of actually investing that in dealing with leaks, investing that money in upgrading a broken system, they have been funneling it to their shareholders, or they have been paying out massive salaries to executives. And all the while putting the hand out to the taxpayer asking for support. Now, what's going to happen? Well, the government will have to step in some way. It's likely that they will give them some cash to get them over this. But £14 billion in debt. How is it possible that a company could run up £14 billion in debt? A water company. What the hell have they been doing over the last number of years? The better solution, of course, is nationalisation. Now, in the short term, it would mean that the government would have to take over a lot of this debt, and £14 billion is a significant amount of money. But in the long term, you're providing a better service to the public, and you're bringing a natural resource, an important resource, into public ownership. So I think that should be the way forward. But unfortunately, there's an election coming soon, so I don't think either party are talking about nationalising the water company. they'll probably say something about, well, we need to bail them out. We need to get them over this hump. But if the chief executive is going, it's a bad sign for the company, and I think it's going to be difficult for them to raise private finance because of all this debt and because of the mishandling of the supply of water and dealing with leaks and dealing with such problems over the last number of years. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.